4 in the regular season against the Saints since Tom got to Tampa. He's thrown 8 picks in those losses. Yesterday, he was talking about the recent record against New Orleans. Here's what he said.
It's a tough environment to play, but you got to go play. You play good teams on the road. You got to go play well. And we just last couple times we played them, haven't done a great job of that.
All right, and so look, the numbers are the numbers. The Saints defense has disrupted Brady in recent years. He's had 4 games where he's had at least 5 combined turnovers and sacks as a Buccaneer. All of them have come against these New Orleans Saints. And even the playoff game where he beat them, he didn't light it up. It was really the defense that picked off Drew Brees all those times. So when you consider the pass rush that the Saints have, and you consider all the question marks on that offensive line for Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, Ryan Clark, is Tom in for a day in which he is going to take a beating on Sunday?
Hell yeah. I'm scared for Tom. Listen, we ain't come back for this, Greeny. We didn't call Leonard Fournette and tell him get up out of New England. We didn't call Byron Leftwich before we ever announced we was coming back so Byron Leftwich could throw his party by himself. And this is what they told me on the pivot. So this is I know this actually happened. Tom Brady came back to win. Tom Brady came back to compete. But when you look at what's going on with this offensive line, already coming into the season with his interior mangled, and you lose your left tackle against the Dallas Cowboys. Now you're playing a third-string level left tackle. He gets beat by Michael Parsons to end 2 drives in the red zone against the Dallas Cowboys. And the Saints always having Tom number. Here's the other thing. The Saints play an aggressive press defense. It's a little different without Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was just traded to Philadelphia. Now Justin Evans is in that slot spot. You throw off Tom's timing, you throw off Tom Brady. You can't beat 12. If you're going out and you're saying we're going to outsmart 12, we're going to put 12 in a position where he's confused, that does not happen. What you do is beat up his guys on the outside, throw his timing off, allow your rush to get to him, and no one's done that as well as the Saints have since he's been in Tampa Bay.
So, Brooke Pryor, are you looking at their offensive line and thinking that's Brady's biggest problem right now?
No, I am looking at their wide receivers. We talked about earlier on the show this week that Aaron Rodgers should be sending out an SOS. Tom Brady should be sending out an SHS, send help soon, because things are not looking good when I look at this injury report. I mean, Julio, Mike Evans gets downgraded, Chris Godwin obviously not practicing. You can have an all-world quarterback, but who the heck is he going to throw to? To me, that is my biggest concern. Yes, you need to protect him, but he has to have somebody to get the ball down the field.
So, Nico, I mean, that's your guy, Tom Brady, obviously. But both things can be true. RC can be right. The offensive line's a huge problem. And Brooke can be right. The receivers are a huge problem. So we're nervous for him. She's afraid for him. I'm afraid for him. RC's afraid for him. Is he afraid for him?
First off, I need to get him a hamburger. He looks a little right. He needs to beef up a little bit. But listen, when your offensive line, that was the number one concern that I had coming into the season was the interior of the offensive line.
Right.
Well, then if he has a tackle issue, that's even more of a concern for me is just the protection there. The injuries on the receiver, that doesn't really bother because there's things that you can do to make you feel good right before the game. You go out there, you play 3 hours, and then you feel terrible after it wears off. So I think they'll be fine.
Is he worried about it? Is Brady? What is his mentality when he goes out there in this situation?
I think
he was talking about his bumps and bruises after week 1.
Yeah, he thinks about that after the game, but before when he steps on the field, he's not thinking, I'm nervous to get hit. I think that he's going to be in a zone ready to go to play against a team that's beat him in the regular season more than any team I could think of in a division that has his number. So I think coming into this game, he knows I got to get the ball out of my hands quickly. We have to get the ball on the perimeter. We have to run screens, draws, use the aggression of the Saints front to the advantage of our offense.
What do you think, Danny?
It's a Saints defense that has pushed this team around when the offensive line was great, when the wide receivers practiced all week. Now you're going in there and those things are not the case, right? The line is shaky and banged up. The receiving core is banged up. Brady is, he's still working his way into this season, right? There's a lot going on by his own admission. So the Saints beat the Bucs 9-0 last year with Taysom Hill starting at quarterback. This defense takes pride. We had Cam Jordan here, remember, in the offseason. This defense takes pride in what it's done against Tom Brady the last couple of years, and they're going to be fired up for this game.
So, Cindy, can we put the picks up there just as quick as we can? Throw those just to see if anyone, how does everyone pick this game? Sometimes we will talk our way through these, but if we can, we could just pop them up there. Let's see what they are because we only have a minute. RC likes the Saints. Brooks got the, oh, look at that. We got a split right down the middle. Nico, you're riding with your guy, Tom Brady.
Of course,
I saw that coming.
Come on. I don't want a text message. just like, what are we doing, babe?
Honest question. If you sent him a hamburger, would he eat it?
Probably not.
I don't see Tom Brady. I don't know why.
Plant-based.
Meat-free.
I don't think he's eating a hamburger.
Meat-free
That's
burger.
not a burger.
All right, DraftKings Sportsbook predictions brought to you by DraftKings. The question today, who's going to have more pass? The banged-up Justin Herbert, so they're down by 3. They've got to kick an onside kick, and look how close they come to getting it, Ninko.
Comes down to special teams. The onside kick, Kansas City recovers, and that's the game.
That ball is sitting there for just a moment, but by that much, the Chiefs recover. They hold on. They win. Mahomes does enough to get it done. Herbert, impressive, but not quite enough. Okay, Ryan Clark, I want to start. Before we get to the big picture, it feels to me like there's a big and a little picture story coming out of this game. We'll get to the big, the implications. But I want to start, RC. Let's teach a little here. For the 99.9% of the people watching this show who did not play in the National Football League, Everett clearly wants to come out of the game before that play. He's tapping his helmet. Yes. He wants to come out. They don't sub him out because they don't want to let the defense substitute. And then it certainly does not appear to be kind, as though he gives maximum effort on the play. Is that on the player, or is that on the coaches for not getting him out when he asks out?
You know, it's on the players, and obviously the coach does have to try to substitute for a guy who really can't get it going, or a guy who has done a lot on a drive and doesn't have anything left in the gas tank. But if you're out there, you're out there. No one's watching this film and saying, oh, it's okay that Gerald Everett was tired. You give up a 99-yard interception that turns into a pick six because you don't fight. Everybody's tired. 2 minutes is absolutely miserable. Imagine mixing like Peloton, Hot Works, and any other F145, whatever you want to be, CrossFit, all in one thing. Add the stress of being on an NFL field in a big-time arena in a primetime game. It's hard as hell to keep going, but you have to fight for your quarterback who's driven you down to that point. And I understand that Gerald Everett's had a great 2 weeks to start his Los Angeles Charger career, but this play is going to haunt him, and it should. You have to give all the effort you can possibly muster in that situation to at least break the football up and do what you're supposed to do. You would like the coaches to be able to get him out, but strategically it was smarter to keep him on the field, and that's on Gerald Everett to find a way to make a play.
Again, to make sure that everyone watching understands, if the Chargers don't substitute, then the Chiefs don't get to substitute. Right. If the Chargers take him off the field, then they have to pause and let Kansas City make their defensive adjustments there. So that's the thinking behind why it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's those little things that decide games that could have enormous ramifications as we go down the line. So Dan Graziano, let's talk about that. Does it appear through 2 weeks as though the reports of the demise of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs were greatly exaggerated?
Yes. I think Bart Scott sat here and talked about them not making the playoffs. So I hope like some of that crazy doesn't rub off on me in this chair. But look, I mean, they still have Andy Reid. They still have Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, I go back to my training camp visit to the Chiefs and talking to Mahomes about how it's going to be different this year. And he said, it's going to be more on me to make sure I go through the right reads as opposed to just looking and seeing, oh, Tyreek Hill's got a matchup that he can win. I'll throw it to him. So you see what Mahomes is doing, and through two games, which they played in the span of 5 days, it works out that way. Now, I will say this. It looks to me like more is going to be asked of Mahomes than ever before by the Kansas City Chiefs because they don't have a number one receiver. They don't seem to have a number one running back. He's going to have to make sure all the pieces work together. Through 2 games, he's been up for it.
A lot of that seems to come back, and you made this point in our meeting this morning, to something he said before the season began, sort of apologizing to people who were expecting those kind of numbers.
Exactly. He apologized to those fantasy guys like, man, sorry if you have any of our guys because you're not going to know who we're going to. And to that point, Mahomes has completed multiple passes to 8 different receivers, tied for most in a game in the Mahomes era. That was last night. Mm-hmm. Through 2 games, 11 different Chiefs have caught a pass, 6 different have caught a touchdown. If I'm looking at that, and I'm a fantasy gal sometimes, I'm not starting anybody on that team because it's so spread out. But this is what Mahomes said that he was going to do. He does not have Tyreek Hill as a crutch to just throw it up. He still has Travis Kelce, but I think that this is making him play smarter, distribute the ball more evenly, and that makes them even more dangerous as an offense.
With Mahomes as the central piece of the conversation, Ninko, as we look at him